Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Get Ready, Set, Move podcast. I am your host, Nancy Walters, and Marima McKay and it's been a minute, and we're very excited to be back here with you. It's been a pretty busy summer, and here we are. It's fall. And what a better guest today than who we have in store for you. So today we are combining what we offer at Get Ready, Set, Move with AI. So we know how AI is taking the world by storm. And we're excited to welcome Alane Boyd, who is a serial entrepreneur, and she's a workflow automation expert with over 2 decades of experience. Alane brings a unique approach to the relocation industry. She seamlessly combines AI tools and automation to create a holistic, streamlined experience for those on the move. With a proven track record in growing businesses and enhancing operational efficiency, she's now focused on making relocations easier and more efficient. Through her innovative tools like the Neighborhood Guide AI and her expertise in automating complex workflows, Elaine is revolutionizing the way we think about relocation. Get ready to dive into how her tech driven solutions help eliminate the stress of moving while supporting a holistic get ready, set, move approach. So, without further ado, here is today's guest, Alane Boyd. Hello and welcome back to the Get Ready, Set, Move podcast. And we're so excited today to have this very fabulous guest on today, Alane Boyd. And we see in the world today how much AI is taking over so many. They're making so many things easier. It's really taking the world by storm, like literally infinitesimally. I can't say that word properly, but it's really becoming such a huge thing, and used properly, it can make our life so much easier. And Elaine is helping to use AI in relocation. She's mastering that. She's created a whole for destination service providers, neighborhood guides, integrations, and we're just so excited to have her on because, as you know, we help you holistically relocate, by tapping into your what really is in your heart, or what you're really visioning yourself, where you want to move, and then taking you from point A to point B. But if we can use AI properly, how cool would that be to make your move even that much easier and that much more stress-free? So, Elaine, I would love to hear your story and where you were before. What led you into using AI for relocation?
I'm going to try to keep the story short so I don't
Okay,
bore everybody, but
sure. In a
my
nutshell.
company, we help do automated workflows, we systemize businesses. And when AI started to come out, of course, we needed to incorporate that into what we do for businesses. And I did a webinar on how to use AI. And a lady that was on my webinar is in global mobility. And she it just brought me into her world. And so this was last year, and she's a destination service provider. And I've now spoken in Portugal at an event on
Wow.
global mobility. And so that was my first time to see, in a bigger scale, when somebody's moving from one place to another. I never really thought about it. I've done so many moves. I've moved from San Diego to Nashville, now to Boulder, born in Louisiana and moved to San Diego. So I've moved all over, and things now, it almost feels harder now. And I think probably because I'm older, but now getting exposed to the industry of global mobility and thinking about how much more complicated it is to move places. And you want to make a decision that's right for where you're going to locate to and the neighborhood you're going to move to. You don't have a year to plan that out,
Mhm.
because you maybe you're moving for a job, or maybe you're relocating because of family needs, or something like that. Well, how can we use AI to help assist us so that we can make a decision faster, so we can get exposed to the things that we like about an area and know this is the place for us?
Mm. Mhm. So you went from workflow flow automation, entrepreneurship, and that inspired you to build your first agency in working with relocation industry. And you focusing on this now because it's even though we have technology right in front of us, a lot of people still don't know how to use it, and sometimes that gets even more complicated. You know, it's overwhelming. We work with a lot of younger employees that we relocate on in from the corporate aspect, and what Mariah and I were finding is they still need a lot of hand holding, even though they're like born into technology with the little tablet in their hand. They need a
Hmm.
lot of help as far as figuring out where to move, even scheduling appointments, and even searching for properties. So what you're developing is so key as well, especially with your neighborhood guide, because as we were saying before we hit record, is like this, your neighborhood guide can really help somebody, especially when they're going to kind of check out a town. Like when I
Hmm.
decided to move to Portland, I flew up there. I drove around. I really got a feel for it. So this will be catered more instead of going online and saying, oh, what are the best of this city? It's going to be catered to each individual.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And when I first started building it and playing around with it, of course, I tested it on areas that I know because I can bet is the information accurate or not. And so I recently moved to Boulder from Nashville. And so I was playing around with the Gun Barrel neighborhood. And I like to go to breweries, I like to mountain bike, and I like to do things outside. And my itinerary for the Gun Barrel neighborhood in Boulder, Colorado was spot on. Like
Wow.
it was amazing. It
It
was
was
like
like,
take take a
take
bike or
me there.
hike around Twin Lakes, then go to Avery Brewing for burgers and beer, and then go to the Boulder Reservoir and go for a walk. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so specific to who I am. And I don't have it. It took me no time. It took 2 minutes to run through the automation and send me a 5-page PDF with an itinerary, local hospitals, dog parks for my pups, nearby grocery stores, how to get around transportation wise. And that took 2 minutes for me to get versus had I done all that research, that could have taken me 3 days.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, for
That is
sure.
amazing. That'd be great just
So
to plan a
I,
vacation too.
Yeah.
yeah, you could use it for that. So it was really fun just to see, what the capabilities were. And we're using AI to help build this. So if you're able to use it in a way that is so friendly and easy to use. You don't have to know how to use AI to go in and use the neighborhood guide if you're wanting to relocate to an area and just see, what is it going to do? You just need to go and answer 5 questions.
Mm.
Are you moving with a family? What is kind of stuff do you like to do? And that's all you have to do is answer these questions and the neighborhood guide will generate the rest for you.
Wow, that's so cool. Quick
Super.
question. I'm just thinking about European travel. I know we do relocation in the United States, but we do have people that are coming from overseas here. But I'm sure if you don't do it yet, that's something that you'll work on because I can see this just not just for relocation and moving, but I can see it for planning a vacation. Because I used to live by Rick Steves' guide, his little Bible, like for
Oh
traveling back
yeah,
in the day.
yeah.
Yeah, and Rick Steves off the beaten path, and yeah, that was like one of the best guides ever. So, do you do international as well
It
yet, or
it just it does any as long as
wow?
the neighborhood has information on it,
Hmm.
it will pull it. So we have team members all over the world. And so when we were testing it out and vetting it, I sent it to all of them. I said, can you fill this out on an area that you know very well and tell me if it's correct? And every single one of them said it is spookily correct. Like
Wow.
it's so good. And I've started to incorporate this when I do speak to global mobility and global mobility conferences. I put a QR code to this neighborhood guide on there this concept can be implemented in a number of different ways. It doesn't just have to be in this, but I'm talking about how AI and automation can simplify a transferee's the transferee process.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I use this as just an activity for them to see. And there's people from all over the world that are there. Some of them are from Relocation Belgium or Luxembourg or all these different places that are playing around with it. And will it have wrong information sometimes? Yes, it will. It will.
Hmm.
You do want to, make sure, but 99.9% of the time it's accurate.
Mm. Mm.
Very, very cool. I could see that being so useful. I have someone moving to the Chattanooga, Tennessee area right now that I'm working with, and he's there with his wife, has never been there before, and trying to search all these places online. What are the best neighborhoods? They have dogs, they have specific interests. So being able to plug all of that in and then drive, and like you said, it creates an itinerary, would be so time saving. It's amazing. I
Yeah.
love
And they have dogs, so it has a little section for dog parks in there so that you know where to take your pup. Chattanooga is a fabulous place too. They're going to have a
Mm.
great time.
Mm.
that's fantastic.
Mm. How do you see AI and automation changing the relocation industry? And what are some common pain points that automation can address?
There's moving is stressful, and relocating, you're not just moving 2 blocks down the road. You're moving to a different country or a different
Mm-hmm.
state. There's so much, even getting if you're in the States and you're moving states, you have to get a different driver's license. And so where I'm seeing this start to pick up, and what I do see, I'll start here, is that in global mobility relocation, initially people were so scared to use it because it is a personalized business. You are dealing with people in one of their most stressful moments of their life. They're uprooting everything they know to go to a new place. But what I do see is that automation isn't there to make the experience worse. It's to make it better. It's so that you have the time to spend with that person to make the experience better. What happens behind the scenes, if you're juggling 40 things, it doesn't matter to that person relocating. They're just seeing time ticking. If we
Yeah.
can make those 40 things happen faster so that
Mm-hmm.
their relocation is simpler, that's the thing that matters. And that can be done with automation. And so and it's slow because it takes a change in our minds, to do that shift, that when people do start adapting and they adopt it, then it makes it better for your internal team and the person that's the transferee, so that they can just move and be where they want to
Mm-hmm.
be. All their stuff gets there on time. They're in the neighborhood that they love, and they can start getting acclimated versus, oh my gosh, when's my stuff going to get here? When is this going to happen? Oh, I forgot to get my driver's license. And instead, those reminders were pinged right at the right moment of their
Mm-hmm.
transfer.
Wow. Wow.
Really,
Yeah, and
really
you
useful.
add a job onto it, like they're relocating for a job or they're relocating with the company and they have to get integrated into their job. And not only the job, and then finding the right area, which is such a huge key point because, your home is your castle. You want to be able to be in the right environment that's right for you. Whether, if you're
Yeah.
city folk, you might want to you be able to walk a couple blocks and go to your coffee shop. If you're an outdoor person, you want trails nearby or some nature. And the neighborhood's so important because if you want quiet or if you want a hub up. So that is such the huge key component for it. And if you can have resources that can help ease your burden with having to do all that research and stuff, it makes it so all those other figures, all those other factors so much easier because you've got get your kids in school, and if you have a family or childcare, there's so many balls in the air. And some people are given like a month, like, okay, here, you got this job, you've got a month.
Right.
Or maybe you've got one day, they're going to fly you out and you have to find your home and pick your neighborhood and all that. So this is such a great thing because they can just put in their key points. Oh, okay, this is the neighborhood, and maybe this neighborhood, and then go and explore those, what you automate and put out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the trends that we're seeing in this is that budgets are tighter. People
Mm-hmm.
don't have you might have gotten, let's just say, a $5,000 moving stipend. Well, now that might be $1,000,
Oh
whatever the
gosh.
money amount is. Timing is crunched. So that's a big trend that I'm seeing in mobility right now is budgets are tighter. How can we do more with less? And
Yes.
automation is a way to do that. That is literally
Mm-hmm.
the definition, of automating processes. And so that if you do have limited budgets, how can we work within that to keep things moving and it doesn't feel exhausting?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, because there's one thing when it's a corporate relocation, because they do usually give stipends, or they hire destination service consultants, or they hire a relocation management company. And then some of it, the money's gone in there, and then maybe they get X amount of dollars that they give them in cash to move. And,
Hmm.
depending on the company and the employee, determines
Right.
on how much they get. But we are seeing less and less because even in our corporate job, we're seeing they're only giving half days to work with us, which doesn't give very much time to do anything for
No, I
them.
mean, it's speed dating. Like, you've got 30 seconds,
Totally.
get it out fast.
Totally. Yeah, so we have to prepare them like, okay, we've got a half a day to work together. That only amounts to that. But whatever I can do to help ease your transition, in the amount of time we
Mhm.
have, great. And then in our relocation business, we're trying to, with Get Ready, Set, Move, like we said, get them to a place of clarity within themselves, because there's so many balls in the airs. And then it helps take the stress out of it. So, okay, we become clear. We're moving to this area, and then can plug in your tool, then they can go into, the steps going out there and checking out the area. Okay, we've identified the place and all the different steps it takes to move, to prepare to move, the movers, etc. And then add in the
Mhm.
automation that makes it so much, we're going from a holistic, and then we're tying in AI. I think it's going to empower so many people with what you're offering.
Yeah, I hope so. And I've had a lot of fun with it, even just, where the neighborhoods that I know, and I just like seeing those, like my favorite spots pop out. And I'm like, yes, this knows me from just
Hmm.
those few questions. And so I think when we think about moving, it's like all the negative parts of moving typically, because it's a lot of stuff that we have to take on, and any
Hmm.
element of fun and excitement that we can bring to the area, then it changes, our perspective of something like, oh man, I don't want to do this. This is going to take so much time, to, oh my God, I cannot wait to go and check out this place and this place and this place.
Hmm. Yes. And we always say, see it with a new eye, see it with beginner's eyes, and, have fun, feel it out. Like you were on vacation. If you're checking out an area that you're moving to, like act like you're on vacation. Go to this restaurant, go see a museum, go into the park, go, along with going to view properties and apartments and, all the practical things. Do the fun things that you'd want to do if you were to move there.
Yeah, you definitely need to know the area. I've done a lot of moves, and I know y'all have done some too. And my mistake on a couple of my moves is assuming that I'm going to like the area and not paying attention to, the culture, what kind of stuff there is to do there, how accessible is getting mountain biking or hiking. And I've moved to a place and I'm going, I have to drive a half a
Mm-mm,
hour to reach one hiking spot, just one. If
mm-mm.
I want to reach any more, I got to go an hour. And I'm going, this was not the right place for me to move. But I didn't do the diligence
Oh
before doing
no.
that, and doing the fun things to get to know the area is just as important of finding the house. You
Yes.
have to know you're going to like it in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's a big difference between being able to get on your bike and get right on these biking trails as opposed to loading up, getting your bike, loading it up, putting it on the rack, taking it off the rack. So that would be something very important to you. Where I live now, I can walk out my door and I'm on a trail. So it's so much
Yeah.
different. And my trail got washed out over the summer, so part of it's closed out, so I can't go down my hill onto my trail. So now I have to walk around, which isn't a big deal. It's like another 5 or so minutes. I have to go on a main road and walk around to connect to it, but I don't do it as much. I don't do it as
It's
much now.
Yeah, it's not top of mind.
Yes.
Yeah, or things is like if you like shopping and you like going boutique shopping, put that
Hmm.
in the neighborhood guide so it'll
Hmm.
make recommendations on that. Like I'm an hour if I'm in my Nashville house, I'm an hour and 20 minutes from the main shopping area. And
Wow.
that is just really, really tough on me because I want to go and get maybe a new outfit for a speaking engagement, or, run and get something. And I've got to make an entire plan because I'm too far. Nashville
Wow.
traffic is horrible, and it just grew so fast. So it's difficult. So
Nashville
things like
traffic?
that, Nashville traffic,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It
Hour and 20
grew
minutes.
extremely fast,
Yes.
especially during the pandemic,
Yes.
just really exploded. So,
People were escaping. And that's another thing we've seen happen over the last couple of years is because of the pandemic and all these lockdowns and all this government overreach, we've seen a lot of people that where their home state just isn't aligning with them anymore. So they're not
mm,
just moving for work or just for for weather, it's for better quality of life. And, all these overreaches, these local agencies are having over everyone. And we're seeing it a lot. We've got major elections coming up, and we're seeing a lot of people moving for those reasons. So, do you? God, it'd be a great. Oh my gosh, it would be a great tool eventually that will maybe highlight what. This is something the next tool to go into what's going on within the government. If it's as far as like boys and girls bathrooms or women's sports or there's stuff with the vaccine mandates and all that, so somebody can put in something like that and see, okay, these are the states, instead of, oh my gosh, looking at all these websites and comparing them. Like literally it's something that could be
yeah,
automated.
pulling everything summary. Yeah, that definitely could be, if that data's out there, and so
Mhm.
the data could be imported in
Yes.
easily. I
Yes.
would assume just knowing where to go to pull it in.
Yes, because going to these government websites, it's like, oh my God, I can't. It says go here, but you can't. It's so hard to navigate.
Yeah, it's
So
very time consuming.
yeah, very. Can you give some real life examples where automation significantly improved the relocation process for companies or individuals?
Yeah, one of the I think is so simple, and I don't see it enough, is like you and I are having a call right now, just like you would with somebody relocating.
Hmm.
And you're just writing out a ton of notes because you need to know what you need to cater to them, right? And I think that's one of the missed opportunities that we have when we're interacting with a person. We're trying to multitask, we're trying to listen, we're trying to take notes, and we might miss out on facial expressions, things maybe that they said because we were writing. And so using whenever you do a call, and if maybe it needs to fall on you if you're the person relocating, but using something like Otter or Grain or something to transcribe the conversation so that there is a record to go back to. And that is such a useful resource because maybe you didn't read your notes right or you weren't listening because you were writing. And so there are things there. Then at the end, it'll summarize the call. It'll pull out the important stuff that was important to the person moving. And so I think that the companies that I'm seeing do that are giving a better experience to the person relocating. And then for the person that is relocating, you also have a documentation of what were the steps, the next steps that they told you need to take.
Hmm.
What dates can you come out here? What are the important things you need to take action on? And then the other piece from like a corporate perspective is what is the timeline? And we can automate that based on, okay, well, when they're what is the pre-arrival things that need to get done and send that to them. And they don't need it all at once. Like if they get a list of 20 things they need to do at once, oh my gosh, like that's very overwhelming for somebody. Okay, well, what cadence do they need to know? Let's automate it. A week before, these are the things they need to do 1 week before the move. And these could be scheduled out so that it's timed perfectly with their move. And then what are
Hmm.
the post arrival things that need to get done?
Hmm.
Go to the DMV, go set up a local bank account, whatever it might be, and separate those.
Very cool. I wanted to
You can
ask a
get.
question about the itinerary because this part fascinates me when it comes to the neighborhood guide. When someone goes in and creates their neighborhood guide and then they have a little itinerary pop up, is there a way to curate it for like if they're going for a 3-day trip or a 1-day trip, is there a way to kind of split up the activities, or is it kind of like here's a list of things to do and you can kind of pick and choose when to do them?
I think for a future iteration, so the one that we have available for people to use is just our kind of a demo one that people can use and access. When we custom create these for a company, then we do set, it doesn't have to be those questions that we have in there. They can ask their questions. They can add additional things and they can add duration. So how
Oh,
long will you be there? And it can build out a 3-day itinerary. Right now, it is just a 1-day itinerary on the the demo available one that anybody can use.
And that's perfect. And then they can go in, and if they want to check out certain, like several different neighborhoods, they can have a different little itinerary for each one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that's so important, like you're saying, is each neighborhood has its own culture. Do you want to be
Yeah.
close to downtown where things might be popping? Do you want to be out on the outskirts a little bit? Do you want to check out both? Because some downtowns are still sleepy and maybe you like that. So picking out a few neighborhoods within the city to check out and having a neighborhood guide for each one, because if you're looking at a bigger city, you're going to need, if and you want to know dog parks or hospitals or grocery stores to go to, that's very different for one neighborhood than it could be one on the other side of the city. You don't want to drive 20 minutes to go to these places.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that so helpful because with our corporate relocation work that we do, um, pre-pandemic, a lot of it was done in face to face. And so you would drive someone around to all the different neighborhoods. And as a local, you'd point out this park is great, this school is great,
Hmm.
this is great shopping. And even though, we're out of lockdowns and all of that, it still hasn't quite picked back up with the face to face. So a lot of our programs are virtual. So you do get a lot of people that are looking to relocate. They're moving, they've got 2 weeks, a month, whatever, sometimes even just a few days. They've never been to the city before. They don't know what the neighborhoods are. They're just looking up stuff online. And then they're dropping into this town not knowing what to do. So having this itinerary is genuinely priceless because it almost takes the place of having that face to face, driving them around and showing them all these places. They're going to have that written down and they can do that themselves. Just really daunting if you don't have that.
Yeah. And some people really, they prefer to do it themselves. Like they would rather explore the city on their own than having
Right.
somebody take them around. And it doesn't take anything away from doing both.
Hmm.
Have somebody take you around, somebody that knows the area, and then have some other things on your list that is meant for you that you can go check out on your own or with your family and do both.
I love that.
Mm. How do you see the role of automation evolving in the next 5 years? Particularly like what we're talking about relocation, other service orientated sectors.
Yeah, I think I have this grand vision of what it'll look like because I'm in this world every day. But, I think there's going to be software platforms that come out that have all of these steps automatically in there. The person can put in the time frame they want to move. They can put in where they're moving from, and it's going to take the person out of it. Like the relocation people maybe necessarily out of it to where somebody it's more self-serve. They can go in and put everything in. There could be software that partners with pods and different moving companies and you select which one you want. Then you go to the next step and you select those things. I think that would be like, if we're thinking about how technology is transforming how we do things, I think that would be, the bigger thing of where it could go. But some people don't want to do everything. Like some people are going to want that self-serve and other people are like, do it for me. I like do it
Mhm.
Right.
for me for a lot of things. Like, you know, l- I like to do some traveling on my own. For relocation, though, if you could just solve all of my problems and I just need to show up with an itinerary and do things I like, man, that's my dream world. So I think there's going to be a custom experience that people pay for, and then one that's self-serve more, eventually. That way it's cheaper for corporations, I think. Like if they could have it to where it was provided through a software rather than people, I could see that changing over the next 10, 20 years.
Mm.
Right.
But it is custom. One of the things that I do here is like, well, it's so custom to each move. And so I think there's going to be some time for that to evolve and actually work.
Right.
Hmm. It's just so advancing so rapidly, AI. Is there any emerging technologies that we might not have covered here or tools that you're particularly excited about?
Well, I love, and this is for my personal life too, is using a project management system. So something like Monday.com or Asana, they have free versions. And, if we're talking about moving, this is a great example is whenever I moved from Tennessee to Colorado, I have an entire project personally for my husband and I to work from on what do we need to do? Well, we've got a tractor. We need to sell our tractor. We don't need it anymore. Like those things don't, a relocation company is not going to help us with these personal items, right?
Mhm.
So we create a project with all the tasks that we need to get done for our moves, whether at the previous location or the new location that we're moving to. And we put everything in there. And then between my husband and I say, okay, you're tackling this. Let me know if you need me, but it's assigned to him. And then what I'm taking on, I assign to me. And then we can communicate in there instead of 1,000 text messages and never figuring out who said what. So from a personal aspect, when you're thinking about moving and it's more than just, when it's more than just you, I think it's so important because you don't want all that stirring around in your head. You don't want to create conflict with your significant other. And you do have more things to decide on other than just the move in particular. Like, are you moving everything in your house or do you want to sell some stuff on Facebook Marketplace? What is it that you want to sell? When's your time frame you want to get this done?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's that's very good. What do you think about along those lines? Automating almost like a chronological, like a timeline of when to do different tasks. I feel like that really overwhelms a lot of people, you know?
Yeah, like a Gantt chart of your
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. At this date. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very systems oriented. But I don't like to do a giant schedule, and I think that comes down to who you are. I have some team members, they put their gardening schedule in a Gantt chart for them personally in their Asana account. And they put the coordinates of where every item they want goes. Now, I don't need that kind of detail.
Yeah.
That would drive me insane. I don't need to be that perfect. But, if you're putting it, and I love project management systems for this reason, is that if you want to be that specific and that scheduled, it has those capabilities and it does help in the bigger picture of things. That way, am I moving things along correctly? Did I remember I even use this for scheduling my travel. I have a scheduling checklist. I have a project. It shows who's traveling between my husband and I and my son. And we have 3 dogs. So I have to schedule a dog sitter. And
Mhm.
one of the times I missed that I didn't check that off. But that's only one time I've done that. The other 500 trips a year, the dogs are scheduled for boarding or dog sitter, perfectly every single time. So it's like these things that we have to do on a regular basis that, if you're making a move and you have animals, do you want them there when the movers are there? Because they're going to be barking their head off. Like thinking
Right.
of these things ahead of time. And putting and documenting it so you don't go, oh my God, where am I going to put this? I'm going to forget to do this.
Yeah.
Putting it in there, and then you have a place for all these little things that you're like, oh yeah, I want to schedule that. I want to make sure my friend takes my dogs that day, all those things. I think one of the things I see is kind of the opposite of relocation is I do see less happening because of people got used to working more virtual or, across the globe. So I have been seeing the trend where it's not as heavy, but it is starting to pick back up because people do like to be around people. And
Yes.
so, I love the idea of relocation too, because when we're exposed to other cultures, we change as better human beings, I think, too. We become more empathetic, we become more understanding. So I hope we continue on this trajectory of seeing more relocations happen
Yeah.
because it is such a positive impact, I think. And, I think some of the things are, of course, the bigger cities I see more pulling in. Smaller cities, I do see some trends where in the United States, at least, where they've put large manufacturing plants in and they need executives to work them, where I do see relocation happening in these smaller towns. And it can be a bit of a challenge for somebody that's moving from another country to a small town in the United States is such a
Mhm.
huge culture shock. And so, when you are in that scenario, really considering where you relocate and maybe it's worth doing a 30-minute, 45-minute commute so that you can be in a community a little bit larger that you might find a little more community in than living in that small town.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
And luckily we're seeing what's happening with a lot of people that are working, they're hybrid. So maybe they're in 3 days, 2 days, 2 days out. I just talked to someone that was 2 days in, 3 days out. So that allows them to live like maybe 40 minutes away because they're only going back and forth like
A
twice,
couple
2 to
times.
3 times in a week.
Yeah.
Because one of the relocations out here where it's located, like, oh, I want to live 10 minutes from work. I'm like, you don't want to live 10 minutes from work. You don't want, nobody moves there. Nobody moves there.
Yes. Yes. Live 30 minutes away from work, please.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So fantastic. Well, I see that you're going to help so many people, and I'm sure it's going to keep evolving and evolving. So, what words of wisdom can you give to some of our listeners who are thinking about taking that big leap? Maybe they're moving on their own or they're moving for work. And what words of wisdom would you give them as far as relocating using the AI tools and using like, this stuff that Mariah and I do about holistically and getting clear and, being really present with yourself and what your wants and desires really are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think that what you just said about the work that you do and getting clear on what you're looking for
Mhm.
is the number one priority whenever you're moving. And I've been unclear in the past in my moves, and I've been miserable. And I could have
That's
lived
the worst.
45 minutes away and been happy as a clam. But
Uh-huh.
I didn't get clear on, or I didn't know what clarity was to make that decision. And I didn't spend enough time checking out the areas, looking around different neighborhoods. I'm just very, if you're moving and you're just like, I just want this done and I want to just get it behind me. I don't care where I live. Take the time to really consider where you're going. Look at multiple
Mhm.
neighborhoods and get a feel for them. Try to spend 3 days, if that's all you have, spend those 3 days really exploring. And I even think neighborhoods trump the house that you live in, because if you're happy in the area, then you can make an apartment, a condo, a house work for a period of time. Trying to move to a new neighborhood and find your next neighborhood can be more of a challenge, because then you have all this other weight on you. You're not just trying to move houses, you're trying to find a new place. Well, in a new neighborhood, that all that work has to be redone. Then all the work you did to move to that house then has to be redone, because you're trying to find the neighborhood. So spend the extra time up front to really get clear on what you're looking for, what makes you happy, what things you enjoy, and how accessible they are at that location.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Talk about the added stress of like the big move and then you're miserable where you're at. That's
Yeah.
just beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want that on your
Yeah,
shoulders.
did I
Take the
make a
time.
mistake? And why did I
Hmm.
do this? You have all those, we have so much stress on ourselves right now with
It's
life. We don't,
Yes.
let's minimize it when we're relocating.
Yeah. And we
exactly.
all know that relocation, like packing your whole life, especially if it's across country or to another state, into a box, because it's so crazy that your whole life goes into a box and that
Yeah.
stress. And some people do have the luxury where like corporate relocations and they just come in 2 days before and all the way into your pencils, they box it and they unpack it. That's my goal. And then my next lifetime, my next move is someone comes in and packs everything for me.
Yes.
So that in itself, and then add all the other things, and then get to where you're landing and hating it. That's just
Yeah.
and
That's
then
right.
having to do it again. Something
No,
else.
too many negative thoughts running through.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another
Exactly.
way to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Marima, do you have any last questions for our lovely Alane before we
Um,
end?
I don't know if it's a question, but I'm thinking I love getting to talk to you about like this automated way of figuring out where the best neighborhood or city is for you, and I feel like it fits so well. Um, it unexpectedly fits so well with kind of like the holistic approach that Nancy and I teach in our Get Ready Set Move course, which is like to just like listen to your intuition, and we do say come up with a list of 5 places and then cut it down to 3 places, and that's well and good. But then how do you go even further? Well, the neighborhood guide, take those three
Mhm.
places, fill out information for those 3 places, and then see which of those 3 neighborhood guides and itineraries really sparks that feeling of, what, this is the place.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I definitely feel like I know that there seems to be a lot of fear about incorporating, intuition and humanity and all of this stuff with AI and electronics and stuff, but there really can be kind of an intermarriage of the two.
Mhm.
And do you feel the same way?
I absolutely. I think there can be, and everybody is moving for different reasons, and you want to make it the best experience that you possibly can. And
Yeah.
so, the more information you have in a digestible way, because there's information out there, right? But we're overwhelmed. We need it in a way that we can feel like we're on top of it, that we're not stressed, that we have a few options, not 1,000 options. And I think the neighborhood guide working with you all helps distill that down into something that we can make the best decision with the best information we have in front of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Perfect.
Moving made simple.
Oh,
Simpler.
I
Yes.
wish
Yeah.
I had this guide when I was choosing where to move.
Yes, me too. I put states and tore them up in little pieces of paper and threw them on a pile. And then I'd pull them. I did so many different things. Each move, even though my last one, I was one that got clear on it finally. And all of them have been the right moves for me. Even though my last move, I'm like, yeah, I was doing time in Portland. It served a purpose. And I find that there were, I had really a lot of good work opportunities. It was a great experience. Um, I loved I love being back home now, my hometown of Michigan. So when you do take the time to really do the work, inner work, and then use the tools like AI to help you, it just can be, you land in the location and you just feel really good about it, and it feels right. Even if
Yeah.
maybe the next location is 2 years, like it served its purpose, then you're going to the next location, even though it's not like, oh, I hate it here. Why did I do this? You're not beating yourself up. Maybe it's time to move on to the next location. Sometimes you'll be there 20 years, sometimes you'll be there 2 years, but you
Yeah.
are in the right place at the right time for yourself.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so glad you made that point because I think that's
mhm.
very true.
Yes, yes. Well, I would love for everybody to know where to find you. I see that you have a Workday Ninja. That's your website, right?
Yep,
Um,
workdayninja.com is my
yep.
company website.
Okay.
But for me personally, it's
Hmm.
I'm very active on LinkedIn, Alane
Okay,
Boyd.
great.
So connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll send you the neighborhood guide link so that can be in the show notes. And if anybody wants to test it out and use it, would love for you to use it to make your move easier.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I definitely will put those in the show notes. And I just want to thank you again. Any last words that you want to
Happy
leave us with?
moving. Ready,
Happy
set,
moving.
move.
Get ready, set, let's move. All right. All right. Thank you, Elaine, so much for coming on the Get Ready, Set, Move podcast.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day. All right. Thanks. Bye.